Hey everyone. I'm going to switch us to speaker view. Oh, cool. We've got some people who just hopped on. Juniper's phone. Hey, hey.
Juniper's phone.
Awesome. Welcome everyone to this awesome little, very intimate virtual campfire chat, where I am joined with Leipzig and Michelle Garside. I always have to think twice before I say your last name now because you're married.
Yes.
And they are the co-founders of SOULCAMP, which is an adult sleepaway camp that I fell in love with last year when I went and taught EMBODY there and got to do all the other fun things. And now I'm just obsessed. And we're here today to talk to you guys a little bit about what it takes to really embody our authentic life and how play is a huge tool in that and a really key piece of that. And we're going to share a little bit about just our experiences with play and how SOULCAMP is sort of really the, what word do I want to use here? Sort of like an incubator for that, for play. And for us adults in quotes, it's so easy to get really serious all the time about all the things, especially when we are working with spiritual growth and personal development and all of our I know this is a lot of my work. It's into deep shadow, all the things, right? And there's this other side of growth that play has to offer that is really what we're going to dive into today. But first, I just wanted to welcome the ladies here.
Thank you for having us. This is such a fun topic, and I love you bringing your juju, your embodiment to this topic. I actually to switch. We were on a weekly regroup call right before this. Just switch out of my regroup mind. I went to the bathroom and I was totally channeling you, Nadia. I was got my feline on, which I love that you're wearing. Cats. But anyway, that was a playful moment right before getting on here that got me, able to be present. But thank you for having us.
Yes, and first of all, Allie, you have such a feline energy, and so feline, like meow. And yeah, I'm so excited to dive in. Especially, I'm literally sitting here surrounded by toys, literally surrounded by toys. So it's I love being in this energy, and I love talking about it too. So excited to dive in.
Yeah, awesome.
And I'm sure you're gonna go into this, but just wanted to say we like Nadia said, this is a really intimate space, and we want to be of service to you guys. So this is really interactive, and chat in the chat box, raise your hand. We can just have this be a conversation. So yeah, I just wanted to say that too.
Yeah, I love that. And I think, to start out, and of course, if you're feeling like you just want to watch and take in the information, that's totally cool too. But I'm really curious whether you want to answer this in the chat box or out loud, or just to yourself. What is the last thing that you've done that's been really, really playful that you felt had a beautiful sort of ripple effect in your life? And there's no right or wrong in terms of oh, whoa, I can't even remember the last time, right? That might be your experience, or it might be, oh yeah, I play all the time. Play is easy peasy for me, right? And if anyone wants to share, you can just, you can just pipe in popcorn style. If you haven't used Zoom before, and if you're muted, you just go to the bottom left side of your screen, you unmute yourself, and you can let us know what's going on, or else you can just make note of it.
I'm thinking, I feel like the last time I really played was at our last SOULCAMP. But that's this is it's so crazy because even, we're all about play, and I'm even thinking about that. And I guess and then maybe with Riker, Michelle's son, and it's so easy when there's kids around. In their playful energy, but I also outside of SOULCAMP and Baby can't remember a moment where I was like, I'm going to play now. It's like been purposeful play.
Yeah. Yeah. What about you, Michelle? Well,
yeah, it's so true. Yeah, it's easier with a baby. I was thinking, I went to the swings today. Riker swang on his first swing. But it's such an amazing example. His whole life is play. He wakes up and he plays. He plays in every essence, even when he's eating his food, even when he's right now next to me, he's playing with a million things on top of him. That's all he knows right now. And to Allie's point, outside of Riker and outside of SOULCAMP, I mean, you create what you need, right? So we created SOULCAMP, because we too need more play. But you know, it's hard. It's hard when you're running around and you have the businesses and you have the family, you have the things, you have everything that piles up. It's hard to make time to just let loose and turn off your thinking brain and get messy. For me, that's what play is, because I'm so in my normal day-to-day very regimented and very like everything is in its place. It's how I control my anxiety. And so like for me, getting messy and like making a mess, that is a full surrender to play. And I have that opportunity to do that every day with my son because he makes such a mess all the time. But yeah, I'm still looking for more opportunities outside of that. But yes, to answer your question, I went to the swings today. We swung on the swings. I got in his playpen with him and rolled around literally. So I played a little bit already today. And I'll also say, I feel very playful many of the time when I'm with Allie too. Like me and Allie have a really playful energy together. We don't actually like play necessarily, but we laugh a lot. I laugh every day with Allie, really. And I think that's in the same vibration of play.
Totally.
Yeah, I feel like, a lot of there's sort of three main messages that I work with that are sort of like pushed onto us, and what I like to think of as like plastered on our bodies, especially as women, or if we identify as women. And like one of those is around play is unproductive. And we really live in a world that values that believes that. And so what happens is as we all seem to be like, experiencing in our lives, it's like, okay, we show up to work. It's like, now we have to be in a certain energy with a certain mindset and do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And really the truth is that many times play is a way to open your channel for creativity to flow through you. So, it was like Einstein, I think, who said the whole thing around, you can't solve a problem in the same like mindset or energy as wait, how do we say this? You can't solve the problem with at the same level as you came up with I lost it.
It's like you can't solve the problem in the same energy that you created it in.
That you created it. That's it. Right. And so that's what happens is oftentimes we have these challenges in our business and our relationships and these other areas in our lives. And we go into this very heady, like, gotta fix it, gotta solve it. And many times that actually keeps us in that same place. And it's really, if we go out and we sit in nature, or we dance, or we just like get into a playful, messy, silly, like, I am actually not attached to solving this energy. That's actually when suddenly we have this like really simple moment of like, oh, that's all I needed to do. Oh, that makes a lot of sense. Right. And so for me, I felt like going to SOULCAMP last year was very much that, it's like, I can always get really, really heady and like, okay, what's the next strategy in my business? What are we going to do? And then just going there and letting myself play and be free and be silly when it's a little bit harder for me to be silly. And then came back home and felt such a creative surge from all the different ways in which we played. And so I feel like that's like a really, it's a really, really important piece to remember, is that we are actively rebelling against a very dangerous message around play is unproductive, and doing things you know, whether it's soul camp or going to dance class or, you know, just getting messy and silly at home in your living room. It's like, these are all ways in which you can like really show up and do the work of like liberating yourself from all the bullshit, basically.
Yes, yes. So good.
Yeah.
No, everything you just said, Nadia, I completely agree with. And I love that you're saying it's a rebellious act. I think that's really true. And I never really thought of it like that, because I think like, like Michelle said, like our day to day is very playful. Everyone's like, they call me like the giggle. I'm like known as the giggle goddess. Like, I don't know why I think everything's funny. And I laugh. The giggle goddess. But like, I laugh a lot. And I think that I forget that that's not a place where, actually, I forget until I'm around people where like, if I like make a joke or laugh and they're like, why is that funny? And I was like, oh, like, isn't that fun? Isn't that just like weird that as society we do that? It's funny. Like, and that's just really interesting that you're saying it's a rebellious act, because it is. And so what we think about when we are creating the experience for Soul Camp, we really think about like, how can we help people be in that playful, silly zone where they just let themselves go wild and free in a way that feels really safe, right? And at camp, like for us, Michelle and I went to the same camp growing up as kids. You know, we were given all of these amazing activities and opportunities to just explore who we are and let ourselves be silly. And for me, I didn't really give myself that chance as a kid, because I already had the muscle of perfectionism and trying to fit in and all of the things that prevented me from actually enjoying it. So now as an adult, to be able to like experience it myself, one, and then two, give it to others is awesome.
Yeah. And I love what you said also just about the, you know, what can happen, that surge that you spoke about, this creative surge that happens after you turn off and just let yourself play. I remember when I worked in corporate, I worked for big branding agencies, branding huge global drug brands. And the creative directors of the whole company, so the people who oversee everything that was going to be created and out the door. They had very, very big jobs. Their offices, and I forgot about this until you just said that, their offices were lined with Bart Simpson dolls. Like the entire office, everywhere, was every single character of Bart Simpson. And like at any moment, they could just take it out and like play with the Bart Simpson dolls. And like, it was just such a part of the culture of creation. And it's so rare outside of creative agencies for that to like be what's known. But it's so true. Like when you play, you get a surge of creative energy that you don't necessarily have access to elsewhere.
Yeah. 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 And the other piece is, I feel like the elements that just sort of bring play to a whole nother level is like being out in nature and playing, right? Like we're all just like, we are actually in an animal body. So we thrive the most when we are we're in these environments that are actually, you know, on a genetic makeup level, like the closest to us, right? Like when you're in a building in, you know, I know New York, I was living there forever. You're not surrounded by, you know, other vibrating things as there are in nature. And so when we go out into nature, when we get a chance to combine play, being out in nature, where you can like finally, I mean, I talk so much about the full body exhale and in embodiment. And it's just like, we all have that. Each one of us might be a different style of nature, but it's like you get to this place and you're just like, oh, finally I'm here, right? That's why we all go on vacation to like, we don't generally tend to go into the city. We try to leave the city to go somewhere that's quieter. Combine that with community and like all these awesome people who like the same stuff as you do. And you can't help but get also a lot of creative energy and inspiration from listening to other people's stories, or just feeling other people's hearts, or just like sharing in like being messy and silly, and like there being like no judgment around it, which is really, that's very soul campy, right? It's just like everyone's just like, wow. And it's such a healing piece of our journey, because I think, so often we are stuck in like offices and places where it's like, you don't get to just like, be silly and messy with fellow humans.
Mm-hmm. It's so true. It's such an added element when you're when you're in this type of energy, surrounded by what feels most natural to us as humans. It's like, it allows us to be fully in our humanity with each other, right? Like Allie and I talk a lot about how we come from tribal society, traveling as tribes, living outdoors, right? Relying on the resources outdoors, telling stories together. And so when we gather in that way again, especially surrounded by the natural resources, surrounded by what feels right to us as humans, out of the cubicle and into the world, so to speak, our cells start vibrating on a whole other level. And then add in the messiness, add in the getting your hands dirty, add in. It's just next level experiences for sure.
Yeah. And it's so often that like we get to do one or the other. Like, okay, you book a vacation with like your family or your partner or your girlfriends or whatever. And, you get the community, and then maybe you or you go out into nature alone, but you never get like all the things, and I think that's part of why it felt so satisfying for me last year, was just like, oh my God, I get community. I get the personal development that I would get at like, those like conferences that are way bigger, but are in like a fluorescent lit, like hotel, like thing. And then be able to like go to like archery, and also go and get like a past life regression, like reading, and then be able to go dance and then swim in a lake, and all the things. So there's something that's really beautiful about combining all of those, so that it's actually a very immersive experience. So it's less conceptual and more like we're actually doing the things that heal us, as opposed to sitting in just a room and talking about what we think is going to heal us,
Yeah. And very few of the things that we have at Soul Camp are just like one teacher talking the whole time to a group of people. Right. And yeah, it's so interesting that you say that, because when Allie and I first started talking about this, even before we came up with Soul Camp, we were talking about how there needs to be a whole new way to present this transformational education information. It can't just be going to the Hyatt and sitting in a chair for a day. There needs to be another way. And really very soon after, Soul Camp kind of came into existence. But we were really just jamming on how like there needs to be a new way to learn and immerse.
Yeah. Also, Michelle, when you were talking, it reminded me, because I think the whole point of personal development, transformational and spiritual work is to remember who you are, right? It's like, there's nothing to fix. There's nothing to change. It's just remember who you are and come back to that and be able to live inside that. And of course, like, want to be your best self. But when you were talking, Michelle, about tribes and then combination of nature, it was reminding me of like what happens, even just like the feeling I get when I sit around a campfire and look up at the stars. And there's this like, oh, like this is who I am. I love this. I love looking up at this. Like, it's so simple. It's just like, oh yeah, I'm good. Like, what's there to worry about? Right? Like, and it's just, oh yeah, this is where we belong. I'm surrounded by people who are also remembering who they are around the campfire under the stars. Like, what else do I need? Nothing.
I love this. I see everything as like a revolution and a rebellion. It's just like my style. And I'm like, oh yes, this is what it is. It's like the revolution. It's a new revolution in personal development, where it's like, it's not about adding things on. It's just about like removing all the noise and getting to that place of like peace and quiet and connection with your like peeps, under the stars in nature. So it's like community nature and like having a good time, and really, and that play in and of itself is going to create and align you so much more with what you're meant to do in the world, your purpose. And so everything is going to start to feel easier instead of, again, going back to that heady place of trying to like fix something, solve something, be in that like frustrated place, but then also try to solve it in the frustrated place. It's like if you're in the cubicle at your work and you're like, I hate this job, you're not going to figure out a solution while you sit in the cubicle hating the job. It's like you have to completely take yourself out, strip yourself from all the stuff that got, you know, pushed on you that isn't really you, and be around other people doing the same to then be able to like walk away and go, okay, maybe by next year I'm going to quit this job. Or maybe for you, it's not about the cubicle, but it's just an example of like, you know, imagine whatever it is that's going on in your life that has you feel like you're stuck in a cubicle, you know?
Yeah. Nadia, that's so good. It's reminding me of two things. First and foremost, you know, I want to say too, it's not so simple for everyone, which is why we have these incredible workshops and leaders to help us shed the masks and the layers, because we need to have those modalities often. So, you know, like sometimes you can access that under the stars and by the fire, and sometimes we need to dance, and sometimes we need to go into our past lives and understand numerology and tap it out and go next to the singing bowls, whatever it is. Yeah. But those are just little portals to yourself. And then what was I going to say? You were talking about oh, I forget. That was all I wanted to say. I mean, there was something else, but it'll come to me.
Yeah. And I love, Allie, what you said earlier about like when you're in this environment and you're under the stars and you're surrounded by your people, like you remember what's wrong. Nothing's wrong. We're okay. And like, I think that there's something to say about like going to a place like SOULCAMP, right? Where the only thing you need to worry about is what next class am I going to? Or like, did I remember my notebook? Or what am I going to draw at, you know, Rachel and Rocky's soul immersion art class? Or what type of excursion am I going to go on? Which hike, right? So it's like to get to a place where you're not really thinking like of anything else. It's like you're a kid, right? Like when you were a kid, you thought about like, what am I going to have for lunch? What's the next thing? Right. And like, I feel like there's some magic that happens at camp that brings you back to that simplicity.
Yeah.
Totally. Yeah. Actually, I'm remembering now what I wanted to share. When you were saying that, Nadia, it reminded me of this one camper, Donna, who came our first camp in 2014, and she's come back every year since. But she said, you know, she was experiencing major anxiety and depression before. Like she's experienced her whole life. Like she kind of always just thought she would be carrying that around with her, and it was like a part of her. And it was who she was. And she said she got to camp, and after like a day, she realized like all of a sudden she was like feeling lighter, and she was feeling happy. And she was like, oh, well, maybe it's not me who's depressed and anxious, but maybe what I've set up and the circumstances in my life aren't serving this lightness and happiness that I could feel. And just like that, like, whoa, like the relationship isn't really working. My family isn't supporting me. Not to cut everything off, but this is a very extreme example and not my story at all. But Donna specifically, you know, she left camp and she just got to look at like, what's not working? What is working, right? My relationship with my daughter, I remember she said, like that has through this whole time just grown in love. But a lot of other pieces of her life, she changed her job. She now has this company called like The Humble Healer, and she does sound baths on Long Island and has this beautiful community. New love who's just like so obsessed with her. He came to SOULCAMP 2 years. Like we always called him Donna's man. But she's just such a great example from, you know, she had a pretty abusive, hard grown childhood, and it was carrying that around with her. And then being on the lake on a paddleboard, she was like, whoa, I don't have to carry that all the time.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, one of my very favorite sayings ever is, it's never too late to have a happy childhood. And even if it's coming to SOULCAMP or going to a dance class or going to a paint class, to remember who you were before everything was piled on, make it a priority to go to those places and go to those spaces and remember the truth of your being. Because when you come into this world, and looking at my son is such an example, like his baseline is just like, okay, he's okay. Like when he needs something, he'll cry. But other than that, he's good. Right. And like, he's happy. He's here. He's experiencing life. And like, we come into the world unencumbered. And then our experiences are layered on top of that simplicity. But to get to a place where you're able to remember that simplicity, to remember that deep knowing that like, you're okay. And the anxiety or the other things were added on top of it.
Yeah. Going back to the whole idea of embodying your authentic life, it's like that is what babies do so well. And then here we are, the portal into really going back in time essentially is play, right? It's like going back into this younger body, energetically speaking, and remembering what it feels like to embody silly and to embody messy and to embody creative and to embody like thinking out of the box in a way and just like being. And I'll just share, today I was sort of tallying up just some statistics for EMBODY, because we're reaching our 1-year anniversary from EMBODY teacher training, and realizing that, we've taught over 100 classes. We've like, it's been over 1,000 women who have gotten a chance to connect to their play during class, and a whole bunch of other things. And it just got me realizing like, EMBODY wasn't a strategy. Like I didn't sit down and come up with it in front of a computer screen, right? EMBODY, I already had a coaching business and I was like, I'm not dancing enough because I'm nomadic. Like this could be a fun thing. Let me come up with something fun that I could do with some friends and just like test it out. And then now this has grown into something that now I think it's like 23 cities we checked. We had taught in already, like just in the last year or so. And it's like blows my mind. And I'm like, this was all like a side thing, And I think part of why it was able to expand is because everything was coming from this energy of like playful and not being taken too seriously. And I wasn't in my like masculine, like go mode. Like we're going to get this done and I'm going to teach EMBODY to this many people by this date. But like none of that was it. It was literally just like, I think it would be really fun if we had these 3 different energies that we played with in class and and whatever. And off it went and it created life of its own. And this is just to remind everyone that's watching that so much, it's not just about tapping into, who we are and community and nature, but also like there's some really awesome productive things that can come out of this. And that creation from this place of play can end up being like the purpose you didn't even know you had in the world. So you just never know how it's going to show up.
That's been our experience too.
Literally our same exact
like you just said our story. Like we started out like, wouldn't it be so fun to invite all of our friends to the place we love the most, camp? And now, it's 5 years later and this is actually going to be the last camp we do as we know it, because just right now that playful energy and that creative energy is just asking to be shifted into another form where we don't know what that is yet. I mean, we have a creative agency outside of the SOULCAMP event, so we're putting it there for now. But I love that you said that. It's just, and often, when people ask, like, how do I find my purpose? How do you find fulfilling work? Like you did, I always just say, like, what do you love to do? Just go do it. It doesn't necessarily have to be your money maker. And maybe it will end up being that. But if this is about finding purpose and having fun, then do what is fun for you. And like for you, Nadia, it's like, let me just dance with my friends because like I need to find home within myself when I'm not being nomadic. And for us, it was like, it was literally like we were deep in this personal transformation world. And we were like so sick of going to these conferences with fluorescent lighting, exactly like you said. What if we bring it to camp? Let's see. And like, it turned into a whole, a revolution, as you say.
Well, I'm getting really sad about the fact that it's officially the last camp coming up next month. That's Crazy Town, and also like it's the final chance to get in on the action.
Yes, it's the final chance, and it's gonna be such a celebration. I mean, what this last camp is, and I'm so happy that you're teaching at it. And it's gonna be such a celebration of everything that is Soul Camp, everything play, and everything embodiment, and like celebrating everyone who's there and all of the campers who've been there before. It's just gonna be like the ultimate. I've been saying like sacred celebration, but it's just going to be such a freaking blast. And I love that it's 5 full days. So we're really going to be able to get there, go deep, and like really immerse ourselves, all of us, in the energy of play and creation and fun and joy, and remembering the simplicity of what it could feel like.
Yeah. Yeah. Amazing. So for people who are watching and are like, okay, play incubation, must get all the details. Is there anything else that you wanted to share about camp, or any deadlines around buying the ticket, how many more spots are left, or anything like that you just wanted to?
Yeah. Well, camp is happening October 23rd through 27th in San Diego, California. It's about 3 hours from LA, 3 hours from San Francisco. We have buses from LA. We have 29 tickets available left, and we have, I think, 5 private rooms left. So we have different rooming options at camp. If you want more of a private experience, we have like private cottages and cabins. If you want more of the dorm fun campy feel, we have our dorm style, but the beds in the dorms are still really nice and big and luxury. It's our luxury camp. But yeah, I mean, what I always say is, if you've been hearing about Soul Camp, you saw Nadia post it last year, and this is something that's been on your bucket list or something that you've been wanting to get to, this is definitely the last year in this form of like, a few hundred people and the way that we've been doing it. So if you feel like this is something that might catalyze you or replenish you, or just be something really nourishing and wonderful and amazing for your soul, listen to that call. This is the last time we're doing it like this. So get your butt there, right? Riker says that too.
Riker is like, it's all about the play.
And yeah. And a couple other things. One, I think just one part of Soul Camp that we didn't fully touch on in here because we were focused on play is the community and connections that are made. People walk away with their soul friends. And Nadia, I know you had this experience too, even as a teacher. It's like the space that's created. It's like there hasn't been one person who's walked away and been like, I haven't met someone so amazing. And like, maybe not everyone walked away with a best friend where they talk to them every day. But a lot of people do. And when I hear things like that, I think, oh, well, that wouldn't happen for me. Like, it's just like scary to think about going into an environment where there's a lot of people and you don't know anyone. Most of the people that come alone, and we're really conscious of that because I get nervous going into new places, and I always like used to like make a friend come with me to events, and learning how to be in an environment and like this, even it's just like trusting like when you say yes, it's trusting yourself, and you learn this whole new muscle of like, oh wow, I can do things on my own, which is just so beautiful. And then just a little bit more logistics. So just so you guys know what the price is. So we have some payment plans. So if you want to take part in our payment plan, it's a 12-month plan. It's $158 a month. But you get to subtract $100 because you're not one of Nadia's friends. So I know you'll post the link. And then if the full price is going up at the end of, so we're in September. So end of September, the price goes up. So the full price is $18.49, and next month it's $18.99. And that's like final price because it's the last month and not that many spots left. And we always sell out Soul Camp West. So if there's a part of you that is like, feels someone said this on another webinar we were on, but they said, you know, we all have our soul contracts and the things that we need to carry out in our lifetime. And Soul Camp is, you know, if you feel like this is a soul contract that you need to carry out, if you're feeling that little tug of, ooh, this could be for me, I'm scared, but this could be for me, listen to that.
Every single one. Oh, sorry.
I was just going to say, and Nadia's link will take you to our website where you can learn about all of the instructors, all of the different classes. We have things like horseback riding and excursions to Sequoia National Park, as well as incredible teachers and healers and speakers, just like Nadia. So your link will not only give you $100 off, but will take you to all of the information.
Yeah. You know, and I was going to add that every single time I had a pull, like from my body or my heart, that was like, oh my God, you should do this. But like, how am I even going to get the money? Or like, it's the worst timing, or like there's all these reasons all the time logistically to not do something. I've really gotten trained to, because of all the times I have said yes to my body. And even though it didn't make sense at the time, like looking back, I'm always like, oh my God, thank God I made that decision. If I would have let my mind take over, my life would have been on a whole different trajectory. You know, everything, every single event, mastermind, coach, anything where I've invested in myself, that always ends up, I look back and I go, oh, I'm really glad that I took that risk. And SOULCAMP in particular, you know, when you have a few hundred people come together and everyone is in this vibration, the truth is it's a vortex. It's like the impact energetically, like you walk away, like you've just upgraded, you know, to like, it's like stuff we don't even understand yet. Right. But the impact, other than all the play and the nature and the community, is like, you're actually walking away on a whole nother vibration that's going to open doors that you didn't even think were possible before. So I feel like that, that was very potent for me. Like I was like sitting in the middle of Soul Camp last year, and I remember looking at, like I walked up to Allie and I was like crying, and I was like, I feel so much love. And I was just like, it literally just like melts you into a puddle, but in the best way possible, because then you can really surrender to like all that maybe you've been unconsciously pushing away in your life. And so it's just,
I remember that moment, Nadia. It was so good. And we've had, you know, because of all our teachers, we have a lot of energy healers that come to camp. And one of them, Lara, she always says to us, she's like, this is as powerful as the John of God vortex. And I think like the energy that's created with him. And I think that's so powerful because Michelle and I, we're not, I mean, yes, we're the holders of the space and we set an intention. And we're the masterminds behind the idea, but we really feel like it's like all of us co-creating this vortex together. And like, that's the new paradigm. That it's not like this one guru on the stage. It's like, we are all equal. We are all creating this together. And we're just remembering who we are as amazing, vibrating, spiritual, beautiful people.
Yes.
Amen. Yeah. And I was just going to say, you know, it really is at SOULCAMP, like, and spaces like it, you melt into really who you are. Like everything that is not you melts, and you remember the truth of who you really are. And it's reminding me of that quote by Michelangelo, who, when he like created David, he said, you know, when I was creating David, I just chipped away at everything that was not David.
Yes.
And I feel like that is so something that happens at camp, which is like camp and experiences, community healing, amazing experiences like that, chip away at everything that is not you to reveal the you that is awaiting, the you that you're becoming. And that's why I think it's the most magical, because we're all, by the end of it, just walking away as like the truest form of who we are. And it's like, there you are, there you are, there you are. I see you. I see you.
Totally. Wait, there's one. So we have so many things, but that Michelle, that reminds me. So Michelle, always had this vision. She loved the music video from No Rain, Blind Melon, where like this bee is searching for her people, and then like she like finds it, and like she just gets to dance around and be herself. And at the end of Soul Camp East this year, we did this dance party, and like we just like had a beautiful spiritual ceremony, and then we played some dance music, and we made this, like, it just happened naturally, this huge circle, and everyone started doing their unique dance in the center, like, and everyone was like like just cheering, and it was like, there you are. And that's what it was like. It was like, there you are, and like you're
totally,
and it just happened. Like, it's not like we like planned this thing.
Yeah. It totally was that. It literally was exactly that. Like, I remember I got in the middle and I did my thump dance. Like, I never do my thump dance, but like, I kept going in and doing my thump.
Yeah, Jess Grippo and Natalie, who are two of our teachers, they did like backwards wheelbarrow. Like, it was just like so funny. But you just get to be you, and like so when you have a space where you see that you can just be you and you're accepted, it makes it that much easier to be yourself in those places where you are getting judgment back and where people don't understand you, right? Because you have this cellular memory of like, oh, it's safe to be me. And I needed that. Like, I am my family, like, I love them so much, but they're so different than me. They live in a whole different universe. And now I have this like, okay, it's safe to be me. And I'm actually totally okay being around them. Like, I wasn't that person who had to cut my family off. Like, yeah, it's definitely a challenge sometimes to remember who I am when I'm around them. And like, I know that that's my work. It's like, it's all good. I can do my crazy dance, and like, they might not get it, but like, it's okay. I'm okay. I've got me and God and that crazy dance.
Yeah. And your crazy laugh. Yeah.
And the crazy laugh.
And your crazy laugh. Yeah.
Amazing. Yes, I think it's so important to have that cellular memory, because the second we have that, it's just that blueprint is there and we can access it anytime. And it's we don't have to worry about the details anymore. Like, oh, how do I show up, and how will they judge me, and and it's just like you're out of your head and you're just like remembering in an embodied way, like, oh, right, actually I did the dance and I didn't die.
Yeah.
And your nervous system, I mean, that's really what you need to teach your nervous system. And then once your nervous system gets it once, you are able to show up in all these other places that in the past were scary for you. So it's like, yeah.
So true.
Amazing.
So guys, come join us if you're feeling this, and I hope you got something. We always say, like before, if there's one person that we're talking to that needs to be at camp, like, we've done a service, and we hope that we also did a service talking about play and community and nature, even if you don't end up at camp. We love you.
Yeah. And even if you don't end up at camp, find places like SOULCAMP, find places like Nadia's dance class, find places like these amazing spaces where you can melt away and become yourself, and remember the simplicity in that. But come to camp.
Because we'll all be there, and we'll be creating this insane vortex. And yeah,
there's nothing like it.
Nothing like it. And Nadia, I can't wait to be with you there. It's going to be so good.
I'm so excited.
So good.
And of course, I'm planning with all the people that I met last year at SOULCAMP East, and who are also coming to SOULCAMP West. We're figuring out, are we going to go there together? What's happening? Because, that's how it ends up going. You become
you're all camp friends. You're all camp friends. And that's what's possible for everyone else, which is like the best part of camp, in my opinion.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you so much, ladies. It was such a pleasure.
So good. So yummy.
Such
a delicious chat.
Amazing. Beautiful. All right. Well, thank you all for being here, and hopefully we'll see you in California really soon.
Love you guys.
Love y'all.
Mwah.